cried out, "Hey, what happened?"
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Doodle-doo. Good to see everybody today. Kind of a crazy day. We had an early start because we wanted to get our next guest on. Loch's all screwed up, so he's going to be here after 3 o'clock. But our good friends are here. James DeFiore from Blackball the Podcast is here as well. Say hi to my friend James. And Liberal MP. He's currently literally surrounded by campaign material, but he joins us. Nate Erskine-Smith from the beaches in Toronto. Nate Erskine-Smith. Dude, this is crazy. I feel like we're getting an Olympian like right before his like semifinal heat on the show.
Yeah. Well, you're lucky. We knock on doors from 4 to 8 p.m. every day, so you're catching me just before that.
Oh, great. That's my first question, as a matter of fact. How much fun is it knocking on doors during this federal election? What kind of reception are you getting?
I would say it's a little more fun in some ways than knocking on doors in January of 2015 when we were in third place and nobody knew who I was. I'll tell you, just on a local level, I've had 6 years to do this now, and I don't think I've always made perfect decisions in this. I try my best, but overall, I now have a record to point to. I can say I've introduced this legislation. I've helped to shape the government's agenda in this way. I've stood up for you and disagree with the government at times, and that has, that's recognized, I think, more than I appreciated as I'm knocking on doors, and so that's been nice. And I would say also, it's been frustrating because I don't think the national campaign articulated the why to this election as strongly as they should have. And so we are spending a good deal of our time knocking on doors, answering questions in a short election as to why we were having an election at all.
I would love, first of all, way to head it off at the pass, Nate. That was smart.
Yeah. Aren't you going to ask him why the election is happening?
Do you want me to just interview myself? I don't know. I could.
Why is the election happening now, Nate? Seriously, answer the question.
Yeah. That's the question. Like I had, and I'll get to this guy in a second. I had these guys come to my door the other day. That was hilarious. And then I'm like, oh, we get Nate on the show tomorrow. I wonder what his experience is like. But that really is the question, right? Like, why you say the government doesn't done a great job of telling us why we're in a pandemic election a full 2 years early. That's my biggest bugaboo. I like you a lot. I think you're atypical in terms of politicians. So I'll ask you the question with no vinegar at all. And I'll just say, I don't get it. I mean, it is the most totally politically disarming thing that I have ever seen for someone who really wants to be part of the solution. It just blows my mind. So why is the election being called?
I have mixed feelings about the election being called. I would say I'll tell you what I just say at the door, I suppose, and what I answer constituents, and the answer doesn't change. I do have mixed feelings. After the 2019 election, I got up in the House in my first speech and said, minority parliaments hold the potential for greatness. And I pointed to the Pearson years and all the work that was able to be accomplished over those 5 years. And I still think that's true. And I actually think when you look at the beginning of this pandemic, there was significant cooperation delivering pandemic benefits, and there were adjustments made, working with Liberal caucus, of course, but working with opposition parties to improve benefits and to listen to Canadians and adjust on the fly. From January to June, in the most recent parliamentary session, there was none of that cooperation. And so we saw the Conservatives delay. And I'm not going to blame one particular party in terms of the slow pace of government's agenda, because in some ways it's a pox on all their houses. The House leadership with the NDP and the Liberals, where there's many shared priorities in terms of our agenda, I would say should have sat down and hammered out, here are the 5 things, the 7 things, the 10 things that we can work on, and just hammer through the delay and the procedural delays. That didn't happen, and it's inside baseball. I don't know all the reasons that didn't happen. That didn't happen. So what we saw instead from January to June was easily the most broken parliamentary session that I've been part of in my 6 years. We saw gun control legislation stall completely. We saw privacy protections stall completely. We saw criminal justice reform stall completely. And we saw UNDRIP and net zero barely squeak by, and conversion therapy, I would say, didn't move as quickly as it should have either. So is that our fault in part? Yeah, we talked about C10 before, and I would point to C10 as causing some of those delays, but I would say Parliament needs to work much more cooperatively and much more efficiently if we're going to deliver on a recovery agenda. And the second thing I hold out to constituents when I answer the question is to say this is also a short election, right? So we don't normally sit till mid-September anyway. Here's a September 20th election, and we need to get back to work, so send us back to work. Do I want to be knocking on doors in the heat of August? And do I want to be knocking on doors when my kid's going to childcare for the first time as of yesterday? My 5-year-old is starting school for the first time and stress of a pandemic. My wife's starting her PhD and I'm out knocking on doors. Not really, but having said that, there are reasons for the election. It's just a little bit of inside baseball. And I suppose the last thing in my long-winded answer, I would say, as a partisan liberal, I disagree. I like to think I'm more independent. I try to be more independent at times, but I will say, as someone who cares about pushing the government constantly to be more ambitious within the Liberal Party, elections are also an opportune time to add additional measures to the agenda and to increase ambition. And I frankly do think that's what we've seen when I read the 80 some odd page document in the platform yesterday.
James, question?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good answer, a good enough answer that we would get from anyone.
Good enough. That's what I strive for, James.
Yeah. Well,
Just good enough.
listen, the reason, well, yeah, because the reason why is because I think that people who aren't liberals read this and say, okay, there was a pandemic happening. 2 years plus left in the mandate, minority government. And I can't even imagine what he would say if he was asked directly what the answer would be as to why now, because we all know the answer. It's because, it was the most opportune time to try to secure a majority government and materialize the vision of the Liberal Party. And that's exactly why.
So, but get to that. Why secure a majority government? It's to deliver on the agenda, right? And so I would say disagree or agree with the agenda as far as it goes. But if you want to see the agenda realized, if you care about these ideas, you either need a majority government or you need to bring a greater sense of cooperation and cut through the bullshit in Parliament that we saw from January to June. And a reset through an election is a way of accomplishing either one of those ends. Because even if we get back to a minority situation, which may well be likely right now, that even if we get back to a minority situation, an election still offers an opportunity for a reset. So, again, I have mixed views. Like, it's not, I'm not going to defend it entirely up and down. I've got to go do my job and seek support.
Well, hold on. What about the during the pandemic part? Like, why is it wise to hold a federal election during a pandemic?
In the sense that it is unsafe in some way?
In the sense that there's a pandemic. Like, just
sure, but
why
so we've got pandemic benefits already in place. We made sure that they were extended well beyond the election, so there wouldn't be a situation where anyone was left wondering if they would have support throughout this election period. It is a short election, and Elections Canada has made it clear that it can be conducted safely. I would say Afghanistan was more challenging than the pandemic, if we're being honest about election timing, right? So the minister can't sign TRVs in the course of an election where there's nothing pandemic related that is affecting our ability in any way to deliver for Canadians the pandemic benefits. We've already delivered the support for provinces and municipalities. I mean, I don't see how, unless it's a safety issue that we're concerned about, in which case, we can talk about making sure that all of my volunteers are vaccinated. We can talk about making sure that, I wear this mask when we knock on doors to make sure everyone feels comfortable.
I'm a little uncomfortable with you not wearing it right now, to be honest with you. I wish you were.
Look, it was my 10-year anniversary in early August. I walked down Yonge Street with my wife. We went to a rooftop patio and we walked by many bars that were packed. You're telling me we can't physically distance and safely vote?
I'm saying the pandemic has ancillary issues that disrupt everyone's life in one way or another, and maybe holding a federal election during all of that might not be the best idea. But it's okay.
Yeah, I'm very sympathetic to that. I'm very sympathetic to that. So we're sending our kids back to school. I'm stressed about that, and I'm thinking about an election. I get it.
We're all dads here. We love our kids. We all get science, right? You don't like your kids locked, but most of us do. We all get science, right? I'm going to tell you a story because, Nate, this is the closest I can get to describing what an election called right now. The closest I can get to explaining it. years ago, my eldest son, 9 years old, we had a cottage on Lake Joseph, Muskoka. That's right, big wheels. So my ex-wife decides she wants to take the anchor out and throw it down in a bay and have a picnic. And she throws it off the wrong side of the boat. No big deal. Gets caught up in the prop. The prop then attaches to the rope, which is attached to the cleat of the boat, which then rips the prop off. So now we got water pouring into this fucking boat, like pouring into the boat. I got my kids there. It's windy. We're now blowing into the rocks on the shore. So I get out and I've got this boat and I'm fucking pushing against this boat and it's mayhem. And I got people coming over trying to help me pull the boat off the shore. Out of nowhere, my 9-year-old little boy, Evan, he leans over the edge of the bow of the boat and he goes, "Hey, Dad." And I'm like this, "Yeah, what's up?" Trying to save everybody's life. I'm a hero, don't forget. And he goes, "Hey, Dad, do you know where you put my bag of candy?" Justin Trudeau, your boss, is my son in this analogy. We have been fighting, going broke,
It's actually a really
losing
good story.
relatives, trying to fucking
dude.
figure out whether or not we need to wear a mask or not wear a mask. And all of a sudden, your boss goes, "Election." They call it tyranny. The only way to figure that out is to have an election. And we're all like this. Are you fucking kidding, bro? Like,
Yeah, I get it.
really?
I get
Like,
it.
I get what you're saying. You said all the right things, and I love the fact you prefaced your explanation of why we're having an election and what you tell your constituents at the door, because I would do the same. You get where I'm coming
Yeah,
from.
oh
Here.
yeah.
We're keeping the dogs at bay, and your boss is like, 600 million of your dollars. Let's go. We're having a fucking election. And we
Is
can't
it
even
that
like
much
we're
money?
trying. Yeah, 600 million.
Oh.
We're trying to get our bearings. Like, we're trying to get jobs. We're trying to fucking feed families. We're trying to dodge the plague. And he's like, "To the polls you go." And I'm like, that's the part. And I like you, Nate. And if, truth be told, if I had to cast a vote today, it'd probably be for your boss, because I find him the least most incredibly offensive and the least dangerous at this point in time. So but I can't physically bring myself to do it in this election. Like, I really can't, because I can't get past that thing. Does any of that make sense?
It does, but you should get past it for the simple reason that we do need a parliament that functions if you care about delivering on a recovery and if you care about getting us through the remainder of this pandemic. And it's rote to say
Was
when
it
you hear the
not
Prime Minister
functioning,
say
though?
that's
Was it
why
not functioning up until like
I will
3
honestly
weeks ago?
say it was a very broken parliamentary session. It was incredibly dysfunctional. I think of the committee work that I was doing on the Privacy and Ethics Committee in the last Parliament with Charlie Angus and Peter Kent and Bob Zimmer across party lines to hold some of the social media platforms accountable. And it was very different in this Parliament. Even on the Industry Committee, where we had a pretty good working relationship, I don't think we got anything important done because we just didn't have that sense of cohesion and cooperation in the same way as we did from 2015 to 2019, at least on my own personal experience on that committee. And then when I see the legislative agenda move as slowly as it was moving, and I've highlighted a few different bills, I would say, yeah,
Yep.
there is a plausible argument, and I do feel it having seen it up close. But I recognize it's inside baseball. Does anyone want me to go to their porch and go, "Oh, it's really delayed there"? They're gonna say, "Nate, get the fuck back to work," right? Like, go, you sort it out. It's your problem. Go work.
Yeah.
So I get it, but at the same time, it's a short election. Nobody ever wants an election, so we can hold out the exhaustion of the pandemic. And I think that's a fair criticism. But no one would ever want an election to be called a snap election like this. Everyone's going to grumble about an election. Fact is, we need to get back to work. We need Parliament to function effectively. And I hope people don't hold out the fact that an election was called as a reason not to vote for the only credible alternative to govern.
I know Lachlan has a question.
I
I know
do.
Lachlan has a question. I just really want to quickly interject and say that that Parliament was dysfunctional. You don't make a decision to have an election like this in the summer and then have it in September. So it was almost as if the Liberals knew they were going to call an election way back in February and then started to present one bill after another that they knew they would never get support.
Except in that case, James, we should have called the election in June, because I'll tell you, we would have won a majority if the election was in mid-August.
Yeah, but
You know what I mean? Like, if anything, it was the delay that's
and it
kicking us in the
probably
ass right
wasn't the
now.
greatest idea. Yeah.
Maybe.
Go ahead,
Well,
Locke. Sorry.
Locke?
Sorry.
I think you're right, Nate. I think people need to get past the fact that the election was called. It is what it is. We're in the middle of it now. Let's just get rid of your boss. Do you believe the polls, Nate?
I don't know. I haven't knocked on doors across the province or across the country. I've knocked on doors in Beaches, East York. I have spoken to many constituents who have expressed frustration with the prime minister and and with the election call. If the frustrations you are all raising are frustrations I've heard. I not only respond to articulate a rationale that the government I don't think has put forward as forcefully as they should have in terms of why an election, but I also, when it comes to the leadership and comparing leaders, I mean, there's no perfect leader in this race from any party. And when you look at the prime minister, 2019 was a tough election for the prime minister, and this election, I did think I've been a little bit surprised. But maybe I shouldn't be surprised. I've been a little bit surprised about the frustration towards the prime minister. And when I think of the leadership in this pandemic, it hasn't been perfect. We made mistakes along the way, but overall, the government, I think, has shown competence in a crisis, and the prime minister leads that government. And I've got family in Michigan, I've got family in the UK. We've been lucky in many respects to live in Canada, and it's because of federal leadership. So I hope people remember that when they go to the polls, because I've had my share of disagreements with the guy, but we did in many ways. He said we'd have Canadians backs, and we did.
Yeah, but listen, revisionist history, as I believe, is where I would classify that, because I mean, we lagged huge when it came to vaccination procurement. Finally got it together, right? I get that, but that was a major problem to start the pandemic. Major problem. Mixed messaging from Dr. Tam. I mean, we've all talked about it, and I get that there's no perfect solution. Not only that, I mean, dude, he is making vaccine passports an election issue. Don't agree with that. You talk about the things that he's done or he's come through or had Canadians' backs. Indigenous people, he's campaigned for clean water, hasn't done that. Same thing with $10 daycare. $10 daycare was in the last election and the election before that.
No,
Now
it's not?
It
wasn't. No. That's revision. So that's some revisionist history. So basically,
maybe I'm wrong. I'm happy to be wrong there.
Yeah. No, I people have to look. We've not fulfilled all promises. I'm not going to hold us out as a sort of perfect government that has delivered all promises, but we've delivered on a lot of them. And in 2015, we promised the Canada Child benefit, this new benefit for families with kids. It's now a $25 to $30 billion benefit, and we delivered on it, and we've increased it subsequently. We also promised sort of a national framework, not full $10 a day daycare at the time. We said we'll start work towards a national framework, and we did. We put down $7.5 billion over 11 years towards in bilateral agreements with provinces to get the work going on childcare. And it was only in the fall economic statement, so a year ago now, that we basically said we're going to deliver national childcare modeled on Quebec. And then the fall economic statement shortly there, or in the throne speech, I should say, and then fall economic statement, we had a down payment on it. And then in this past budget, we have the $30 billion over 5 years to deliver on it. So on childcare specifically, I would say, we delivered on Canada Child benefit. We are going to deliver on childcare in a short period of time. We got 8 deals with provinces. There's been a lot of work, and it's not just holding out this fake hope of we will get it done maybe if we're reelected. And on clean water, I would also say it's because it's an issue I get asked about all the time here in Beaches, East York. But when you look at the actual numbers, we've lifted or helped lift almost 70% of long-term advisories since 2015. There are 109 out of 150 some odd. There are over 185 short-term advisories that we've helped to lift, and there are water projects underway at different stages in every community where a water advisory remains. I actually think the prime minister fails sometimes when he doesn't articulate that progress, because when I articulate that progress at the door, they go, "Holy shit! Why does nobody know this?" And I go, "Yeah, why does nobody know this?" So why do I have to knock on your door to tell you? But so yeah, not everything's. And look, if you're looking at the pandemic response, I'm not going to suggest everything's been perfect, and if we're really identifying sources of failure, I would say it was around travel. But on benefits for individuals and businesses that were a lifeline, I actually think the vaccine procurement, it was February was a tough month, but those deals were signed very early when you actually look at the dates of the deals, and we don't have domestic vaccine manufacturing capacity. So on that pillar, we then made investments, and it's $3 billion. There's a deal with Sanofi in Toronto. There's a deal with Novavax in Montreal. There's a deal with the research facility in Saskatchewan. So I would say overall, there's actually been pretty compelling leadership on vaccine procurement to the point that we're world leading rate. And I will say though, I don't like the politicization of vaccine credentials and certificates. I agree with that. So I'm open to criticism on the politicization of the pandemic in many respects. But I do think when you compare us on vaccine procurement and you compare us on the support to bridge individuals and businesses through this pandemic, I would say there's been strong federal leadership.
Loch?
Nate, one thing that, without getting into specifics and breaking things down, the one thing that I get really riled up about is every time I hear, and this is all politicians do this, but every time I turn on the TV and somebody's speaking, they've written another check. Are you concerned, and be honest, are you concerned about the amount of money we seem to be okay with going into debt with respect to promises? I mean, I know a lot of this stuff doesn't come to fruition, and I get that it's all part of the game, but it's like 10 billion here, 10 million here. Like it seems to me, coming from a house where, single mom, and we didn't have money, and I started working at the age of not that we need to make this about Loch's Little House on the Prairie fucking adventures, but I gotta tell you, man, every time I see somebody step up to a podium and show another figure, I'm just like, what the heck? Who's paying for this?
We are.
Yeah. Well, the taxpayers are, and I would say I'm of two minds on this in some respects. I mean, there are fewer, I wouldn't say the sky is falling away. You'll hear the Pierre Poilevs of the world say, oh, we're printing money and it's a big disaster. And, then you hear from more credible people like Kevin Page, who was the former PBO, and now he heads up the Institute for Fiscal Studies and Democracy. They crunched the numbers on our platform, and they basically gave it a 15.5 out of 18 for transparency, fiscal responsibility. And they did highlight some areas of uncertainty, but they also said, this is sustainable over the long term. And that word sustainable fundamentally matters. I do worry about structural deficits, and I would hold up old age security as a pretty good example of this, that in the last budget, we increased old age security for people 75 plus. For people who don't know how that benefit works, and that's seniors want, generally speaking, they want that benefit to be increased. But my parents, as an example, retired teachers, they a house in Toronto that is worth a whole lot of money, and do they need an increased benefit? You know what I mean? It's not a particularly well means tested targeted benefit. GIS for seniors, keep increasing that. Let's lift seniors out of poverty, especially single seniors. But when you look at the OAS, if you make $100,000 as a senior, you still get an unfunded benefit. It's out of the general treasury from the federal government. To me, that's not a great expenditure. Insofar as it's not a great expenditure that is deficit financed. There's no return on your money particularly. And so it's, as a matter of equity or fairness, if you want to do it, let's do it, but let's make sure it's paid for. There are other measures when you look at poverty reduction for kids. In many respects, that will help. That's an investment in the future of equality and opportunity for kids, and I think that's really important. And there's probably an argument to be made that we needn't deficit finance. We could find ways to spend for that too, but I would say there is a clear return on that. And so when I look at the total picture, I would say if I were in charge of things, I would want to kind of bracket it out in terms of, here are my ongoing expenditures, and those are going to be sustainable, and those are going to be, the revenue will match the outlay. And here are one-time costs, whether it's capital infrastructure, it's building transit in cities, or whether it's one-time costs to tackle climate change, retrofits, or whatever the case might be. I would go even bigger on those and say, let's clear out these one-time costs. Compensation for First Nations kids, let's clear out these one-time costs, and let's move on with it.
I know you're probably rushed a little bit for time, but hopefully we can have you just for a little bit longer. One thing I just wanted to mention is that it must be really hard to go door to door during this election. the party's brand has taken a little bit of a hit. I'm being honest. I'm not trying to be like hyperbolic or anything.
Shit, Nate.
And the thing that I think about often is what's happening right now actually is the party doesn't seem to be consistent when it comes to the Me Too thing, and with that one liberal candidate right now that's had many complaints about sexual misconduct.
Yeah,
and usually in these situations, if it was a conservative, and it's happened before, someone from the Liberals will get up and say, believe all women. This person should be suspended until we find out what happened and victims and this, and that didn't happen this time. And then the conservatives became the liberals who are demanding this person's head, even though normally they're the ones that demand due process. So why is there so much hypocrisy in this shit all the time? I think would be my question.
I have no idea. And I'm a little loath to weigh in on the particular case because I don't know any of the details. I don't know.
That's fair.
I've read like the media reporting around it, but and look, it's always a red flag when there are multiple people that come forward. That to me is the thing that makes my head turn and go, okay, let's make sure this is dealt with in the most serious way and make sure that has there been what investigation has taken place, what has been the due process, and what would have been, what are the reports that are available, and who's been responsible for this, and it's I've not had any complaints in my 6 years, and it's curious that there are 4 people that are complaining about one member. So and I worry. I've spoken to young female staffers who talk about a whisper network in Ottawa, and when they first told me about it, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? There's a whisper net? What? And it's people know the names of other of members and other individuals in Ottawa who you stay away from. It's young women on the Hill know to stay away from certain people. I think that's just a horrible tragedy that has obviously, things have been improved. I think
it's not just politics, Nate. That happens
it's not just politics. It's not just politics. Anyway, that's all
Hopefully
to say.
we can get past that point where that's an issue in every business, right? But
and
I agree.
And what's
I don't know,
weird,
though. I would like to see. Due process is also really important. So when I look at 4 complaints, I go, that makes me worry. And then I hear the Prime Minister say there are rigorous processes, and the House of Commons presumably is responsible for these rigorous processes because he was a member on the Hill. This isn't an internal Liberal Party thing. And so they've seen the reports ostensibly, right? And I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they know more than us. It was the same thing with Terrence Davis, the Raptor, when he got in trouble for doing something in the States last year. Everybody was like, get rid of Terrence Davis. But at the same time, I find it very, very weird. The Conservatives kicked out that dude in Nova Scotia for a legitimate sexual touching complaint. This Raj guy down in Kitchener-Waterloo has 4 individual, totally separate complaints, and the Liberals won't do anything about it. I mean, it's almost like a reputation flip when it came to dealing with this subject. And I find that bizarre.
They also wouldn't be able to run a candidate in time. I don't think Nate might be able.
No,
to
that might be part of it, right?
Yeah.
And it's that important. So is that why? Because I guess the overall question is it leans into where the polls are at. And I just took a quick infographic. This is from like 4 hours ago. Sorry, it's not complimentary.
Ken Hare was he
greatest name in politics.
He's not a liberal though, right?
No, he was a conservative.
Ken Hare was a Liberal from
Oh, was he?
Okay.
Yeah, and he got busted. Listen, it's not about which party has more sexual offenders.
But and the accusations against Kent were around comments that he made, and so he lost his ministerial position, but he stayed in caucus.
Must be really easy to destroy someone. He made comments.
Yeah,
he sure did.
But just to here's the latest. These are the latest polls. Conservatives at 34%. I mean, this is nanos. Who cares? Like, there's a bunch of different polls. You guys are at 31%. Is Aaron O'Toole just kind of like, how is this happening? Because 5 months ago, you'd look at a poll and you'd go, yeah, you could basically, you'd have to run Superman against Justin Trudeau and the Liberals because conservatives' position's untenable. You got so many rednecks involved in that the conversion therapy thing. I mean, these are all, they're not getting my vote no matter fucking what. But I find the flip-flop really interesting because it seems to be indicative on a couple of different subjects. And I think what's happened is, and James brought this up a while ago, it really comforts the center-left that are super pissed off at Liberals and the Trudeau administration.
Center-right, I think you mean. Because,
center-right.
Because there's no chance a conservative, moderate conservative would want to vote for Trudeau based on a lot of the more social justice kind of talk.
Right. So in your caucus, when you guys are looking at these polls, are you going, Jesus, how we can't pin this guy down? Like, how are you losing? I guess is the question.
I'm not surprised by the ability of O'Toole to court more progressive voters. I am not surprised because having sat on committee with Aaron and having, been part of debates with Aaron, and I used to walk across the aisle and sit next to Aaron and just chat with him before he became the leader. And I have a good relationship with Aaron. I think he's a really nice guy and smart too. It doesn't surprise me that he has done his best to showcase, what he believes a progressive conservative leader should be. What surprises me is how he falls into when he ran in leadership in the first go, and he lost. He lost to Andrew Scheer, and he was a distant third or fourth, I forget what, because it was a fight between Maxime Bernier somehow and Andrew Scheer, and he ran more as the person he is holding himself out as now. And then when he ran in the most recent leadership and won, he ran as this true blue conservative, and he attacked Peter MacKay for being liberal light, and he very much has now inhabited a role that is very much like Peter MacKay was trying to inhabit in that leadership. So
quite liberal, yeah.
I would say it doesn't surprise me that he's pushed back against the elements of his caucus that are clearly going to help them lose votes. I mean, the Cheryl Gallants of the world, the
I live in her riding. I live in her riding.
I've been
she's crazy.
Yeah, she is. She's like a she's like a Stepford wife, but like on bath salts. She's fucking crazy.
Yeah, I mean, people don't appreciate until you see it up close how ridiculous some of our politics is. I mean, it's that she represents anyone in the House of Commons is absurd. But
she represents me, yo. What up?
Well, I mean, she might represent you, okay?
Making sense.
But it doesn't surprise me when I look at him pushing back on, to say anti-abortion, pushing back on that. He's done a good job at sort of quelling some of the more reform elements and the elements that have generally scared a cross-section of Canadians. I still wonder, though, when I look at, his comments around public-private healthcare. I've definitely had constituents say, is he really for increasing private pay in the system? Because private delivery we have lots of, but it still doesn't sit right with lots of Canadians that you could pay to get to the front of the queue. And that is what the Saskatchewan MRI policy is all about. And two, where I see the biggest differentiation, because look, he's included animal welfare in his platform. I like that. He's included increasing the Canada Workers Benefit in his platform. I like that. He's got a much stronger set of proposals around workers, but on climate change as an example, if you care about this issue, I don't know if you guys do, but if you care about tackling climate change, then if you're a progressive conservative voter in my riding as an example, and you care about science and you care about protecting the planet, you're still going to have a hard time voting conservative, even under the sort of the puppy friendly Aaron O'Toole.
I have a question, a good follow-up question based on the Aaron O'Toole sort of thing that's going on right now. And I want you to be honest, and don't worry, Nate. Hardly anybody watches or listens to this thing. So, do you have any nicknames for him?
No.
Or any? Oh, come on.
No, I don't have nicknames for any of my colleagues.
That's the better question.
Come on.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I don't believe you at all. I believe that when you and the missus are sitting down after a long day and you came back from that boring ass fucking meeting you call a caucus meeting, you probably sit down with your wife and she's like, how'd it go? And you're like, oh yeah, Twinkle Dick did this today.
So funny.
Numbnuts did that today.
Archie
No,
Bunker. We
brains
call
did this
Aaron Archie
today.
Bunker.
No, it's quite the opposite. My wife doesn't want to hear me talk about it at all.
So, Nate, listen, you already get cut out of this podcast for like a conservative ad with your sound bites of liking his policy on this, and I like his policy on that. You're gonna like they're gonna
No,
do
yeah,
you're gonna
that's
not
fine.
climate, right?
I
No,
was so close to asking you, like, it sounds like you might be voting conservative in this next election.
Well, look, I would say they have the leader's office is very different from the party. And so the members who are in the House, like half of them voted against the conversion therapy ban, right? That's insane. And so you still have the caucus that is holding them back in a serious way.
Yeah, but no
At the
one's
same
talking
time-
honestly about it. Okay, go ahead. But why are
No,
why are we equating "Pray the Gay Away" with my 5-year-old should make a decision about gender and I shouldn't be involved in it? Like why are we equating those things? It's like an omnibus
don't know.
bill for social justice.
It almost
Nate
sounds
didn't
like
do
you
that,
haven't read
Paul.
the bill.
Yeah, it's not what he's.
So I don't think that's what he.
But anyway, that's
and no offense. I don't feel like taking a pit stop with this issue. So like we can go.
no,
over
me
this
neither.
issue.
But the
time
point
than
is,
that.
his caucus is, as a general rule, much further behind where he's at and putting some of these ideas out. And one does wonder, is he the shapeshifter that he's gone from, his first leadership to his second leadership, and now here he's acted as very different kinds of leaders. I personally would not do that if I was seeking leadership. I'd rather lose and be able to lose as who I am, as opposed to shapeshift into winning and then have
It's
to
a valid
shapeshift back.
I've noticed it.
And the second point really is, I mean, when you look at, my riding as an example cares a lot about climate change, and there's just no comparison. In fact, there's no real comparison between us and the NDP either. Like they don't have a credible plan. The Conservatives don't even pretend to have a credible plan. On reconciliation too, a lot of my constituents, especially after the findings of the unmarked graves, there's a huge call to say, let's have a national reckoning. And I don't think the Conservatives are in a place where they're ready to have that reckoning that the rest of many other Canadians are ready to have, including my father-in-law, who's a farmer in small town southwestern Ontario. So, I do think they are still there. It's a much harder election for us because of where Aaron O'Toole's brought the party instead of where Andrew Scheer took it in 2019. But I still think there are clear market differences on really important issues that matter to Canadians. It's just a matter of us articulating not only the differences, and I hope not in a negative way, because I actually think we've seen too much negative campaigning already in this election. I think it's got to be much more about, here is the progress that we've made. We've made serious progress. Now send us back to work. We've got to build on the progress. And I don't know that we've done, I mentioned not a great job articulating why the election. You guys seem like you agree, but I would say I don't know that we've done the greatest job articulating the progress that we've made, because a lot of Canadians, when I'm knocking on the door, don't know the progress we made on, whether it's on climate action and the 40% reduction in projected 2030 emissions, or the clean water on reserves that we just talked about. So I think we have to do a much better job articulating that.
They're not
If
voting
you're
for
wrong,
Aaron.
spend
They're not
less
voting
time
for
virtue
Aaron O'Toole.
signaling.
They're not voting for Aaron O'Toole. They're voting against Justin Trudeau. Is what's happening.
Yeah, that's what's happening.
So-
and hold on, can I just say one thing? I think the
Yeah,
other
for
problem
sure.
is you don't have a leader right now. We don't have a leader right now that has the ability to step up and talk about what the plan is and what they've done. He just continuously wants you to make you feel bad for how you live your life. I mean, and that seems to be a bigger issue for me. And I think a lot of people are catching on to that he's not. He's a little bit disingenuous, and that's seeping through. Anybody that I talked to that was like, no, you know what? He seems nice. He's got nice hair. He dresses well, right? He looks like he's in shape.
Fit.
That conversation's gone now. It's like, I don't know. He's bugging me now. I can't have him talk.
But he'll be able to get us out of the she session. Don't worry, for Lachlan. It's gonna.
Well, I think there has been an overexposure issue. He was out in front of Canadians every day, and I spoke to a very strong Liberal supporter who said, "Shit, he's back on my television every day again." So I think there's that. But I honestly, when push comes to shove, I just hope Canadians recognize. I can complain about the broken promise on electoral reform. I can complain about the lack of action on decriminalization. I can complain about the lack of transparency, despite us promising to be the most open and transparent government in Canadian history. But when I look at big picture issues that really matter on climate action for jobs, but also for my kids. When I look at the progress we've made, and you can say she session or whatever, but I spoke to one woman on her doorstep. She had a 5-year-old kid on the porch, and I said, "Oh, she looks about 5." She said, "Yeah." Well, I was like, "Well, my kid just turned 5. I have a 1.5-year-old too. Do you have any younger kids?" And she said, "No, it's too expensive. But if you guys get reelected and you do what you say you're going to do, I want to have another kid, and that's the only way I can afford it." So
Wow.
there
come
are
on.
there are real policies that can make a big difference.
If she's managing her reproductive unit according to what the government budget looks like for the next administration, you're talking to the wrong voter. Like, that's not someone you want to go, "Hey, will you vote for me? Maybe if you give me money to have more babies." Okay, we'll see what we can do. I mean, those are weird. Those things are weird to me. But here, let's take this out of the realm.
They're important.
I know
they're important. To a lot of people, though. Let me just kind of here. I'm just saying, there's a lot of people out there that they think with their kids, right?
Yeah, I know they do, but
like if I can't,
but they don't plan their families according to federal budgets, for crying out loud. So anyway, back up. Let me just kind of back that up. So here's the deal. Lachlan and I had a really great conversation about your boss saying, "Hey, if we get reelected, we're giving the CBC $400 million. $400 million. That's what we're doing. We're going to give broadcasters, people doing content, $400 million, so you can just bypass the commercials, which they're still allowed to sell."
Yeah.
I will say this: if you can somehow, and by the way, nice abstaining from the C10 vote, if you can somehow tell your boss that I will lead the charge for people to go and vote for him. And you, because I like you, and I think you should get reelected in the beaches. Nate Erskine-Smith, ladies and gentlemen, sure, Liberal candidate. He's a good dude. Vote for him because he's
my ad now. That's my ad.
Yeah. Clip
he's
that
a good
out.
dude. Vote for him. Yeah. But I will seriously vote for somebody that stands up for and stands up to and gets rid of the CBC and the CRTC. Seriously, I will lead the charge.
I don't even need to get rid of CBC. Just stop giving them money.
Get rid of it. Unload. Stop giving. That. That to me was so fucking insulting. Because how is that not a bribe too? Along with the $500 for seniors and the $10 billion for this group and $80 billion for that group. I mean, it just reeked. I was reading it on the CBC website, and it was hilarious because they were going through the Liberal platform for re-election, and they're like, they're doing this, but O'Toole says this and that won't work. They're doing this, and then this guy says that might work. And then it gets to the arts component where they're like, Justin Trudeau is also going to gift the CBC $400 million to keep doing a wonderful job. And I was like this, fuck off, dude. You kidding me? Will you do that for me?
I won't go to Ottawa and seek to cancel the CBC.
What about the CRTC?
And by the way, I do think, though, when I look at the CBC, I think if I'm thinking of media deserts and I'm thinking of how to ensure we support stronger local news, I quite like the local journalism initiative that we've got, but I do think that the CBC should be very focused on that problem in a way that they haven't been, I don't think, in the last number of years, and that would be a good use of public funds. On the CRTC, I plan to go to Ottawa, and I was quite critical. I think our committee was quite critical collectively of the CRTC decision making, and I think the CRTC is a very broken model for important public policy. I mean, they've spent more time on skinny cable packages that don't matter to anyone than affordable internet, and which is a basic necessity in today's world. So I think
start, Nate. We'll work on you on the CBC.
But the CRTC is definitely a broken institution from everything I've seen up close.
Well, dude, listen. I thank you for just taking time. I know we were a little bit late getting to you today. I know that we had to rejig this. I know you're busy. I appreciate you. I really hope that we can continue to talk, because we don't represent political parties. We don't have a dog in the race or a horse in the race, depending on if you like dog races or horse races. I'm particular to the dog races. However, some people like horse races. So whatever you like. But I wish you nothing but success. I really do. And I wish we had more of you in every party. At the same time, I wish that I hope that you can start making sense to some of the people up there, because it's not just Mr. O'Toole who's flip-floppy. Your boss is too. And he presents whatever it is that is the order of the day. I think this election's ridiculous. I think we're in it, so we have to be responsible. And I'll continue to follow you, and I wish you nothing but the best, and I hope you win in the beach. I really do.
Well, I appreciate it, and I am more partisan probably in this conversation than most, because we are in the middle of an election. But I would say, while I wish our electoral system was different, it isn't. And I hope people, when they look at the options, they don't say, I don't like this guy, so I'm just going to vote against this guy because I don't like this guy, and I'm just going to focus on this guy, without considering it's actually a question of alternatives. And honestly, I'm not going to do this job forever, and I've been really frustrated at times in doing it for the last 6 years, but there really is no credible alternative to govern in a serious way, unless you really disagree on the policies, and so be it. But if it's really just, I don't like this guy, then fuck, don't make your decision in that way.
That's how we vote in Canada.
Our country is
Nate?
worse off if
You're killing a dream here.
That way.
You are killing a dream. Yeah. That's how we vote. We just get rid of people. We don't actually
that's what we
people
do.
in there that deserve the fucking job. I mean, that would be common sense. That would make sense.
Yeah. Thanks, Nate. Really appreciate you, brother. Yeah. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
Best of luck door to door. Hey, just put your dukes up in case someone starts swinging.
Oh, no. Doors are friendly in Beaches East York. It's all good.
When you come back next time, you can let us know if the vote on BC 10 was your choice or did it come from up high? Because that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Which say again?
The Bill C10 vote, did you decide to abstain, or did it come up from above?
No, I decided to abstain. Although there's a much longer conversation around C10 we should have, because
it is
going to come back. It is going to come back, but I hope we fix it when it comes back. Anyway, good to see you guys.
Don't worry, it won't come back. I'll be beating the shit out of it on the regular. Thanks, buddy.
Right, take care.
Appreciate Bill you. Bill C10's like a zombie. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thank you, by the way, whoever put him on today, if it was you, James, or you, Dean, thank you. He gives me hope. He does. I'm not optimistic about where we stand right now politically in this country, and I'm getting more and more disillusioned. So I need guys like that. We need to talk to smart politicians, and I don't even give a shit if he's liberal or conservative. Yeah. We just need to talk to smart people that are actually honest, that actually say things that make sense. And even he knows when he has an opinion that might be against the norm. He'll set it up that way. He'll go, listen, this is how I think. This is the way I believe things are. You might not. That's okay. That's your right. God, you don't hear politicians talk like that.
His ability to do retail politics, like I've seen his ground game. I've seen the way he just talks to people. I shouldn't even call it a game, because really, he's one of those guys that's the same off camera as he is on camera. And you can't really teach that. And so when I saw him in the first election that he won, deliver a speech or talk to constituents, because I was working sort of for the other candidate, and then we all kind of got to know each other a little bit, I guess. He was just really, it was refreshing to see a guy that was smart and good at retail politics. Retail politics is usually the arena of the doofus.
I don't even know what that means, James. What does that
mean? You're
a
good glad-hander. You talk to the people, you walk among them, tell them you'll fix their potholes.
Interact.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. You're accessible.
I had a politician show up at my door yesterday, as a matter of fact, from this party, and they handed me this. Well, they didn't really hand me that. Yeah. I want you to look at this. This is the People's Party of Canada. Not only did they throw it at me, it's a great story. Maxime Bernier, who poses like, if this doesn't look like Nosferatu in 2021, I don't know what does. Dude looks like a fucking vampire. So my door rings and I go downstairs, because you got to go downstairs to get to the door. And I go to the door and I open it up, and the guy, this is literally an instant replay. So he's standing there, like one guy at the door who's the PPC candidate for this area, and then there's like two people standing on the lawn in front. And I open the door, and he's like talking to them, like, hey, like, he turns around and he looks at me and he's got this big smile on his face. He's like, and I go, "Hey, buddy." And he goes, here. And then he runs. Like runs.
Did he recognize
down the street?
you?
I don't know. He must have. I'm not sure. But I'm like, wait a second. Wait a minute. Get back here. I want to talk to you. He's like this. I'm good. He's just running down the street. And
That's
I'm
fantastic.
like, I want to talk to you about what's on the back of this thing. He's like, I'm good. I'm leaving. And he just left. And that was the whole thing. But I went to the back. So this is the party, and they're going to create a fucking problem for Aaron O'Toole if they already haven't. Like all the crazies from the Conservative Party that hate brown people, that eat ivermectin, that don't want to get a vaccine, that love going to bingo only if they have 2 cartons of smokes so they can motor through those for the whole night. Those are your PPC party people. They're mostly racist. They hate everything about this country that isn't white or from Western Canada. And this guy shows up at my door. He's wearing the fucking 3-piece suit. And then he runs away from me because he clearly knew who I was. But this was the back. This is their entire platform. This is their platform. You can't vote for these guys. End lockdowns. Lockdowns have suppressed our freedom and destroyed public finances. We will not bail out. We will not bail out provinces that choose to close down their economies. Immigration. Canada's immigration rate is unsustainable, and every 74% are dependent. We will implement a sustainable quota for the 100,000 immigrants per year. That's what he's doing. He's keeping people out of the country for you, everybody. This guy keeping people. Then he's like, I will protect the free speech.
The free speech? Does it say that?
The Liberals want to relegate. No, I added that part. Liberals want to relegate the social media and curtail the free speech. We will repeal C10, C36. I identify with that. I thought that was pretty cool. They also want to stop globalism, and they want to create a unified country by telling everybody you can do whatever the fuck you want anytime.
When I did the voter compass, it put me really, really close to voting for PPC. And I am not racist at all, but I had to go back. I was like, I better go back and weight some of those questions and then it moved me a little bit closer to conservative, but again, still pretty damn close to PPC.
Right. Yeah, I know.
It's
it
not
put
really
me in
about
the
the
camp
issue.
of like right between PPC and the Bloc. That's why I was scared. I'm like, holy fuck. My racist.
Yours looked a lot like mine, Dean.
I know it did.
Mine was right in
Sorry,
the middle.
Jamesy, what were you saying?
No,
Was it really?
yeah, it was directly like it was almost like a bullseye. It was just right in the middle.
Yeah.
That's not surprising. I forget what I was going to say, but before when you were using the French accent, I was reminded of, I don't know who said the joke. It could have been you, Dean, or maybe it was me. I can't remember, but Stephen Guilbeault's translator as Stéphane Dion. Do you remember that joke?
That was you, James.
I thought it was, I don't remember. I can't keep track of this shit. I don't know.
Yeah. He's trying to remember which one of us said something he said.
I thought of another joke when you guys were talking earlier. Canada is so in debt, we should just name the country Lachlan.
Yeah, that's one thing that happened to me. I don't know what it was. Like somebody, like when I popped out, some angel stood over me and went, "You, son, will never have wealth or prosperity." My kids, we were having a meal and we were talking about my daughter who's in ballet. And by the way, anybody want to sit down and have a conversation about expensive children? That includes coaches, our dads and moms of hockey. Kids and goalies. It doesn't, like, you won't touch what is flown out the door for a ballerina. No. And we were talking about the fact that I've never been to Europe, and the girls were like, "You've been to Europe, Dad? Come on." And I'm like, "I've never fucking been to Europe. I have to work 365 fucking days a year to keep you guys living your best life. They've been all over the damn world, and I've never been anywhere. The only trips I go on are trips for work, where the work sends me. And they couldn't believe it. They couldn't wrap their head. You're in your 50s. You've never been to Europe, Dad? No, I've never been to fucking Europe because we're fucking poor. You guys don't live like I do.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Why are you so upset about not having gone to? It's fantastic, and every
I don't care.
country I've been in Europe has been tremendous. But dude, I'm the same way. Like if I give my kids the last of everything. And I've got very expensive children as well.
That's what it is, right? I love my kids. I do. I joke about not, but it's funny how they don't see that, right? They can't believe, they don't understand where we came from, right?
No,
they don't get that. Mom and I were paying off student loans into our 30s, right? She went to Queens. Right, like we're paying off their student loans. Like they won't leave the house with loans, like 50, 60, 70, $80,000.
That's because you love your kids.
Yeah,
that's because you love your kids and you didn't want them to have to go through the same thing you do. Yeah, that's why the thing that Nate said in that conversation was so funny to me when he's like, I was talking to this lady and she goes, "Hey, I'll have another kid if the federal budget looks great next year." And I'm like, That's not how people fucking plan.
That was weird.
I don't agree with you guys. I understand where Nate was going with that. A lot of people make decisions.
It just sounded weird. It's like the Liberal Party will set the ground for your conception.
Like before inseminating my former wife, I didn't go, "Hang on, honey, I haven't seen the federal budget, so I might have to dome up tonight."
That's not hot. What he was saying.
That is hot.
Hey, Dean, I want another kid. Hang on, baby. Hang on.
I
haven't seen the federal budget. I don't know how fiscal responsibly the government's going to be, and unless they kick in that child tax credit, I don't think we can have the
people make decisions.
Dumb
people. They vote. Their families determine how they vote. A lot of people out there. There's a lot of people on the verge that are making shit dollars, Dean. And they want families, and they can't afford families, and they sit there and look at the candidate that's at the door, and their decision to vote for that one party or another is based on whether or not it's going to save them money in daycare or food costs or costs of traveling around, taking kids to the event and that event. There's a huge portion of our population in Canada that is right on the verge of, if I lose my job, we're fucked.
Bankruptcy. Yeah, they're like an interest rate point away from losing everything. Not my fault. Not my job. Right? That's not how you fucking.
But he's going to hear it. He's going to hear about it when you're knocking at doors. Nate's going to hear
about beef anymore. I can't afford beef anymore. I really can't.
You can't.
I'm not kidding. No,
you can't
because
you need to ask for a raise. You need to ask for a raise at the head shop.
20% more expensive beef now than it was like a month ago.
I stopped buying it. I used to buy once a month. I used to buy a 3-pack of steaks that were good steaks. They were like ribeyes at Costco, and they were, I don't know, $10 a steak. So they'd be $30-$35. That same package now in Costco is $55-$60.
That's right.
It's doubled in Alberta, and I'm not paying that. I mean, I would love to have a steak tonight on the barbecue. We're not eating it. I mean,
dude,
and a lot of families are making those decisions.
Yeah, I get that. I get that when it comes to quality of life, for sure, having kids and deciding whether or not you want to have another one, and it's incumbent upon the fucking budget, that's different. A break from politics for a second. Yeah, thank God. James, I thought you wanted to stay on politics. I don't think you ever want to talk about fucking anything other than politics.
I'll talk about poo before politics today. Seriously.
Are you tired of the politics too?
It's a good day to have Nate on.
I
can bring Bonzi on and get him to show us his bunghole.
I was good with Nate. That was fine. But now I'm just exhausted overall about politics.
Yeah, it is. It's exhausting.
Well, good. Let's take a break from it. Have you guys ever watched the television show? It's been long running called The Simpsons. Have you guys ever watched that show?
I watch it every day with my 7-year-old son.
You both are going to probably have a bit of a shit conniption when I tell you this. I have never sat through an entire episode of an adult cartoon in my entire life.
That is just offensive.
That is
not one. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I did try to watch Family Guy because somebody said that a friend of mine told me that I would really appreciate it. So I sat and I think I watched one episode and then I walked away.
Doesn't make any sense.
Well,
You're a morning guy. You're funny. Like, why wouldn't you like?
Yeah, no,
I never got it. I never.
Well, you got to watch.
He's weird.
I never got cartoons. I never. Yeah.
Okay.
So
it disturbs people. Look at Rob. Look at Rob's comment. People lose their shit over it. I never watched The Simpsons.
Doesn't take much to make me angry, but I'm a little angry. You know.
No, I'm not kidding.
Fucking kidding me, Loch?
Never watched adult cartoons. Never. None of them.
Well, if you have seen
The
The Simpsons, there's Bart does these prank calls. Bart Simpson does all these cool prank calls all the time, and like IP Nightly, Rusty Bed Springs. There was a school board meeting in the States, and it was one of these school board meetings where people are talking about. It was in West Virginia. I don't want to wear vaccine passport. I don't want the mask. I don't want the passports. You guys, fuck you because Jesus rules, like all that crazy shit. Until, God bless the kids. Some of the kids got involved and started sending in names for people that were supposed to be standing by to ask questions on Zoom.
Have you seen this?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
This is out of control.
You guys work for us in this environment. You answer to us, and I'm asking that you do not pass this policy in Virginia.
Thank you so much, Ms. Thomas. We do appreciate you.
This guy's a pastor too. This guy that's speaking.
Phil McCracken. Phil McCracken.
Yeah. Oh wait.
Soak Mahidik.
Suck my dick. I think. Suck my dick.
Luke Mahidik.
Suck my dick.
Ophelia McHawk.
Feel my cock.
Ophelia McHawk.
Ophelia McCock. Ophelia McCock.
Eileen Dover. Eileen Dover.
It's like a confession, like a deposition.
Wait,
so funny.
This next one's my favorite.
Don Kiddick.
That's donkey dick, I think, is what it's supposed to be.
Don Kiddick.
Donkey dick.
Donkey dick.
Not here. Scratch him off.
Wayne Kerr.
That's my favorite. The wanker.
Wayne Kerr.
Wanker is my favorite. I swear to God, we played that like 4 times this morning, and we just laughed like assholes every time. I know we shouldn't. I'm 51 years old. I shouldn't find that funny. I had to listen. Some of them.
Mahidik.
Suck my dick is suck my dick. That one was the hard one. I had trouble getting that one.
I did too. I had to figure it out. This one I got right away though. I leaned over. I got that one, and then this one was lights out.
Don Kiddick.
Donkey dick.
I leaned over. Donkey.
Dude, he did that. He did that for like half an hour. That's like a 2-minute clip. It went on and on. It was like Ivan Joyderpuss. Ivan Joyderpuss. Nope, no Ivan Joyderpuss here. And then he's like, next one. Howie Feltersnatch.
God
Howie
help us
Feltersnatch.
all that doesn't happen more. Like whoever did that is going to get into trouble. They deserve a medal. I swear to God, the kids, those kids deserve some sort of recognition. A day off, a trip somewhere. They should send them all to Disneyland. I needed that so desperately. I mean, we played that just after Joe Rogan went on to talk about the 17 medications he took when he got COVID so that he could avoid the vaccine. Right?
Yeah.
That I totally needed.
It's like a release. It's like a release, right? When you see that, you're like, oh, fuck, at least people are still having fun, because the Rogan thing put me off too. Did you see that yesterday? Joe Rogan has COVID. He makes this announcement on Twitter. I have the video for you. I want you to listen very carefully to the unapproved litany of drugs the dude shoved in his system after finding out he's fucked.
Tested, and turns out I got COVID. So we immediately threw the kitchen sink at it. All kinds of meds, monoclonal antibodies, ivermectin, Z-Pak, prednisone, everything.
It went on, dude. It went on. You cut it off. He had about 3 or 4 other things after that he did. And here's the thing, and everybody knows. I think a lot of people know this, that have heard the ivermectin stories. There apparently is a version that you can take if you are a human. There's a human, but it is actually in ranch supply stores. And the problem they're having with it in these markets that people are taking it is that they're not. I'm guessing Joe Rogan has a doctor that got him the one that's okay for humans. But the people that are taking it, the people that listen to his podcast, it's not he doesn't clarify it. They're taking it, the stuff that they give to the horses. By the way, I also found out today that they give it to sheep. Like, sheep eat rocks, cans, and fucking tires.
And they call us sheeple. They call vaccinated people sheeple.
So it deworms barn animals is essentially what it is. And you put it on it's paste, you squeeze it onto a cracker and you give it to your fucking horse. And that's what people are going into the stores and getting, and they're taking it. And I spent all morning, I swear to God, Dean, trying to phone poison control in Alberta to get a list of the number of people in the last 6 months that have been impacted by this, that have had.
And you want that number to be high, don't you? Yeah, you want that number to be way up. Yeah, in Alberta, you want that number to be big.
It was 9 in BC. Okay, only 9
in Alberta.
I don't know. No one could find the number for me. I called like 30 people. I just want it to be higher.
I'm not going to publish it because I don't want it to fucking embarrass the province, but it's happening, right? Like, I was looking for, and I actually wrote an article on it. These are just the one drug that he took. So I got Z-Pak. He said he took Z-Pak. That is a super STD killer. Like a bunch of NHL friends that I know. They have it with them on the road everywhere they go. It's like the super fucking STD killer. So he's got that. Then he's got ivermectin, horse paste. It's dewormer. Then he's got prednisone, right? Prednisone I was on.
Massive steroid.
It's a steroid that they use to treat people that have severe kind of infections. I can't remember what the infection was that I had, but I had an infection. It made me crazy, like made me fucking insane. I was so mad one morning because my shoes wouldn't get on my feet for some reason because my feet were swollen because I was on this shit.
From the prednisone.
Yeah. I picked up my fucking king-size mattress and threw it down the stairs because that would be a good idea. That was prednisone. But I went and actually found, so this is a list of serious infection, serious side effects that can and probably will happen with an extent of about 60% if you take prednisone on an ongoing basis. Hiccups, puffiness, growth of facial hair, thinning of skin and bruising, impaired wound healing, glaucoma, cataracts, ulcers in the stomach, worsening of diabetes, irregular menses. I don't know what that is, but it sounds fucking terrible. Rounding of the upper back or buffalo hump, obesity. I'm just reading this. Retardation of growth in children, convulsions, anaphylaxis, vision changes, congestive heart failure, heart attack, pulmonary edema, syncope. I don't know what that is. Sounds delicious. So tachycardia, I get that. Thrombolytis, vasculitis, allergic dermatitis, low blood pressure, lack of menstruation, newly onset diabetes, hyperglycemia, hyperthyroidism, pancreatitis, anemia, amnesia. The drug also causes psychiatric disturbances, which include depression and a few other things. That's from one of the drugs that this fucking cat took.
You need to name, at the end of all of your ailments from now on, moving on, just based on the conversation we had with Bonzi yesterday, just add piles. And piles.
And hemorrhoids. Yeah. And then I went and looked at like the vaccination ones. And of course, there are side effects with these. These are vaccination side effects: redness, soreness, swelling, chills, fatigue, joint pain, headache, mild fever, muscle aches. Anything serious here in this country? 0.0007% incident rate, 3,000 serious, none of which they can contribute death directly to the vaccine. Not one. So this guy fills himself up with fucking stuff that literally will kill you, and lots of it, and spent, I had it mapped out by a doctor in BC, 30 grand at least for the treatment that he was on, at least 30 grand, monoclonal antibodies. But here's the fucked up part. For months, the dude was like, it's no big deal. If you get it, just take a little vitamin D, have a sleep, go sleep in the sun. It's no big deal. If you get it, it's not that big of a deal. Then he says, and I could be wrong, but that's the vibe I'm getting, is that he talked it down, said it's not that big of a deal. If you're healthy, you should be fine. Don't go out and get the vaccine. Take vitamin D. Get yourself in better shape. Don't be fat. All those things, but didn't advocate for the vaccine.
No, he didn't.
Two shots. It's all it would take.
He wasn't a heavy
different drugs in his system instead of taking 2 shots. Sorry, go ahead.
He's not. He's a. How do you explain, James? Do you listen to Rogan a little bit? I listen to him a bit.
I used to listen to him more, and since he's gone to Spotify, I listen to him less. I just haven't migrated for some reason. But I think I was thinking about it since the last time that we spoke about him, and I'm starting to come on your side a little bit about the way he strategizes what he wants to say. And I think he's doing, I think that he knows he's like a lot of like people who are on the left or lean a little bit left, who they discover that if they criticize the left, a lot of right-wing people will start listening to them. And then they don't want to lose those right-wing people. So they become less outspoken about progressive issues, and they become, almost like a soft ally of the right. And I don't know. I mean, I think that's his audience now. And I don't know. But I know, but from what I've read from what I've watched of his, he seemed to be a little bit on the fence, and then he thought that the lockdowns were too much and everything. But he did get all his guests tested before they came in, and he didn't mock it either. So I don't know.
Exactly. But I think he did say things, and he does make sense every once in a while. The hypocrisy of this, though, needs to be pointed out. The fact that he is unwilling to get vaccinated for whatever the reason is, that's his fucking business. He chooses not to get vaccinated. He believes COVID is real. He believes our response to it, like a lot of us, has been misrepresented, misplaced, and maybe overdone. And again, like I said, I'm not trying to defend the guy, but when you're unwilling to get vaccinated, yet you're willing to do that to your body, like you gotta be, like you have to be self-aware.
You're a fucking fraud.
It's a fucking joke. It is. It really is. And I hope. And he's not the guy that goes on and will overly defend it. And he was also not the guy that will go on and apologize for it at all. He just does it and then moves forward, and everyone just lives. It just is what it is. Right.
Yeah.
But I think that's a mistake on his part, because I think this one might actually bite him in the ass.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, let me play a clip. This is from literally 3 months ago. Loch, let me play a clip here, because I think it lends itself to what you're saying, and it kind of touches on what I was saying, because I've never watched a show, listened to a show. So these are more questions.
I like them.
I find the whole thing fucking irresponsible.
It is.
The fact
this
that
is fucking ridiculous.
But it's how fucking soft this guy is, when all he's done for years is talk about being a fucking alpha male and having the keys to the fucking alternative health kingdom. He doesn't. Okay, like he doesn't. And he's not the alpha male he's telling you he is, because an alpha male who says don't get the vaccine wouldn't shove 30 grand worth of whatever else into his system as a panic. Like, he was fucking panicking. We threw the kitchen sink at. Anyway, this is like 3 months ago. Watch.
Like 21 years old, and you say to me, should I get vaccinated? I go, no. Are you healthy? Are you a healthy person? Like, look, don't do anything stupid, but you should take care of yourself. You should, if you're a healthy person and you're exercising all the time and you're young and you're eating well, and like, I don't think you need to worry about this.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you.
For someone who says there's nothing here to really worry about, I would say prednisone, Z-Pack, kitchen sink,
massive
HCQ.
Massive hypocrisy here.
Like, that is like soft. That's the softest shit I've ever seen. And the guy's been parading around as the fucking man for this long. And the second he finally gets this thing that he thinks is nothing much to worry about, he treats it with 30 grand worth of shit that no one else can get. That's not only questionable, it's used to treat horses and sheep and cancer patients and people with severe syphilis. Like the prednisone alone can kill him. And he's like, whatever, man. I just don't want the two shots. It's
you know what the doctor
he
said
is a
to me?
fraud. He is a fucking fraud. That alone makes him a fraud. Go ahead, sorry.
My wife had this blood thing where her white blood cells started to attack the healthy blood, and we don't know why. It was like an immune sort of I forget the name of the term that they had for it. And so we we went to the doctor, and the doctor was explaining what she had and gave her prednisone. And I'm like, prednisone, Jesus, what's this? I've heard this is like a heavy duty steroid. And he was like, yeah, no, it is, but it will work with this. We just have to, based on her condition, we have to really watch what she takes and how much, and we have to see her every week. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, explain to me what this drug does, because he also went through the list of side effects, which you just did. And we were like, holy fuck, like, should she be taking this? And he's like, this will save your wife's life. She has to take this. And he goes, when I asked him the question, what does it do? He went, listen, this is probably not what you want to hear from your doctor, but we don't know why it works. We don't know why we have to give it to her. We just know that it works. And we use prednisone for a ton of stuff, and no one understands why it does what it does. Go home, take whatever, right? And we're like, holy fuck. She has since recovered. Yeah, it took about 6 months. She got a couple of the side effects. And I listen, we have been very healthy, and we haven't been to a lot of doctors with serious issues. So that was fucking scary to me. The fact that he just took it probably from a naturopath's, advice, for COVID is fucking crazy to me. Crazy to me. I'm sorry.
It's not even a naturopath. Like it's like
it's a heavy.
It's his own. It's his feeling. I feel like there's another video where he's like, I don't feel like I need it. I don't feel like I need to be vaccinated. And I'm like, it's everybody's choice. But like, did you feel like you have to eat horse paste for worms and cancer steroids and STD chemicals and monoclonal antibodies and HCQ by the dump truck load? Like,
I think James is onto something. I think he's sort of hit this lane, and he's kind of on this lane, and he's got this audience, and he goes, okay, well, and I don't know how they actually, I don't know how motivated they are to pull that audience in, or how deliberate it is, but it does feel like that now that you mentioned it.
He would lose. I'm not going to guess percentage, but he would lose a pretty good chunk of his audience if he came totally pro-vaccine. That's what I think would happen. People that thought that he was like, there's a lot. A lot of us that feel like we don't have a political home, we watched Joe Rogan because he didn't seem partisan, right? That was why. That was one reason why we watched him, because he didn't seem like he was a lefty or a righty. And a lot of us are drawn to that. Three of us are of that sort of concept, because that's where we are, because we don't like partisanship. We don't like to be ideological. And so he sort of embodied that. And I just think he's leaning a little right now because he sees his analytics, and he's like, if I, do certain things, then a lot of my audience will probably turn their back. And they will. It's happened.
That's fucked. That's fucked in my head. That is like the most fucked thing. The most fucked way to earn a living is, again, it's duplicity, totally pretending to. I think you're onto something, Jamesy. I think you might be right, and I don't disagree, because
a little bit, maybe.
I think he's trying to keep what he's created, and so what he's created towards his fan base is this anti-attitude, and there's nothing more anti than trying a billion different experimental drugs you get at a horse feed place for something that has nothing to do with what you have, right? So But the other part of that too is, and I found it interesting, is some long-term Rogan fans, and I got tweets from like, I used to love this guy, but this is the most fucked up thing I've ever seen. And some people are saying it's fucked up because he actually went and got it treated. So he's losing 4 different ways. And that's because he's not being genuine. Like, he's protecting a brand more than he's actually trying to fucking communicate with people on an honest basis, right? Because there's nothing honest about that. Nothing. Nobody can relate to what he just did. Sorry, Loch.
You don't think that he believes that he's doing something good for him? You don't think that he believes that?
I think he does. I think he is a little bit wired. I think he's a little bit wired in that I'm going to take care of myself the way I want to take care of myself. I'm not going to be told how to do it. Mm-hmm. But I also think that there is a bit of the brand protection thing going on here. And the only reason I think that is because, I don't know, I have no fucking clue about this, but my guess is that he is taking a huge hit in numbers, like a massive hit in numbers, with the isolation from all other platforms other than Spotify. And I bet you that the pressure from that company is massive. It must be massive. And he's either going to rebel against what they want him to do, or he's going to try to comply and fit into some narrative that might bring an audience back to him. Because again, he got paid $100 million to jump over to Spotify,
and it ruined his show. I bet. Like, that's the way I feel about it. Like, it ruined his show in the sense that my loyalty was there, in the sense, I hate using that word, in the sense that every day at least I'd go and see who he interviewed. And if I was interested at all in that person, I'd probably watch 10, 15 minutes a day. Like, I was that guy. And then he moved to Spotify, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't want to migrate for some reason. And all I've heard is like criticisms from people since he's gone that it's just not kind of the same. And he moved into that Klingon studio for a while. It looked like a Klingon set to me. But yeah, he's still rich as fuck. But it like a lot of people, I think money might ruin him. Money might ruin that show. It's not ruined yet, but I think it might be ruined. Eventually.
Yeah, it's what happens, right? Like, you take your eyes off the prize, and instead of doing content, you're trying to maintain this brand. And I used to think that all the time when we started this. I'm like, do people want a morning show? Like, am I still doing a morning show here? Is that what I got to do? Do I still have to espouse the same things because I don't feel the same way? Like, will people still like me? And there was a point where I literally said, I don't give a fuck.
We're going to make it guess what time we start.
Yeah. Like, I don't give a fuck anymore if anybody says, if someone says to me, you're off your rocker because you're interested in the greater good succeeding, I'm like, well, that means you're stupid if you say something like that. So it doesn't really fucking matter. But with Joe, it does. I think once you get to that point, and I once again never listened to his show, I find these out of context comments ridiculous. In the video of him saying, I loaded up on horse pills. I'm like, oh, fuck, really? You're talking to human beings here. Like, you got a little bit of responsibility,
the
just a little bit.
Biggest problem with Joe and playing clips, and again, I don't feel any need whatsoever to defend the man. I don't fucking know him. I like his show. I like what he's done. I can be critical of it from the perspective of my knowledge of this industry. And I think James has made some good points. I think that he might be in trouble a little bit just with the overall numbers and his overall control of the format as a whole, right? Because, I mean, there's 4 or 5 guys, and he's clearly at the top of the ladder when it comes to podcasting, and has been for years. But I think part of what makes this format, this podcast format, interesting is that, and this is, I'm speaking for myself here in personal experience. When I sit down here, I feel like I can be myself. I don't feel any tugs at all about sponsors, about religion, about politics, about my wife who can't hear the show now because I'm downstairs, which was the fucking greatest idea that I had. I mean, like, there's no tugs on me and how I conduct myself in this format. Yep. And if you are living in a world, and we all have as broadcasters, where you're being tugged a certain direction, it does pull away from the authenticity of what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And that's what I like about what we're doing here, right? I get a really good sense that when we bring people on too, they might not know right away what this is, and they might not know right away how to conduct themselves, but you can see it. You can see us drawing it out of them. Just be yourself.
We kind of balance we balance the smart with the absurd, probably on the show a little bit better than most.
Yeah, totally. That's we do, and that's, I like the full breadth of what we do because we're being genuine in how we deliver stuff. Like, you know, what other show can you do where you're talking to a Liberal MP about, you know, this a fucking election and election issues and policies and glad handing and stuff, and then play a video of two guys, neighbors, literally beating the shit out of each other?
Where
is
this?
England.
Is Nate
this is a British fight.
Oh, I thought you said Nate was.
No, I'm filming it. No, look at these.
Just hug.
I saw this today and I watched it. It's a 2-part series. The two British neighbors get in an argument over who's taking the garbage out that day. Okay, two guys. One wife is recording the whole thing and she's videotaping it from like the story above.
Yeah.
The commentary is almost as good as the beating. It is the fucking best. But wait for it.
I'm gonna fuck you up, yeah? Good. Go on, hit me. Come on, do it. You pussy, man. Call the police, you fucking come on. I'm not scared of you, son. I'm not scared of you. Call the police, huh? Call the fucking police. You already hit me. Call the police. No, I fucking didn't. You got it? I got him. Yeah. You're a fucking pussy, right? You fucking my family.
The red guy's going down, isn't he?
You understand?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Not me, mate. Not me.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's the talker. Yeah. The talker always goes down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a headbutt coming?
A slap. Oh, it's a slap fight.
Slap fight.
Yeah. Okay, so you got a slap there. Wait for it though. These guys are on now. They're sizing each other up. Listen to the woman. She's on the phone with 911. Couple guys swing.
Just hold off on the ambulances for now. Bam, bam.
Couple shots in the head.
Oh,
couple knees in the head.
He's in the octagon. Look at him.
Look at it. Look at these guys. They're dry humping now.
Gouge his eyes. Oh, he had
headbutts.
Oh yeah. He's packing.
Headbutt.
He's like he might have a
biting.
knife on him.
Oh, shot in the head. Another shot in the head. He's down. Face into the pavement. Another shot in the head.
I don't feel sorry for him. This is the first time that's happened.
This is why you look at this guy. Oh, he's down.
He certainly took out the trash, Bob. That was awesome. Oh, I needed that, guys. Thank you.
Oh, dude, it's so he gets up and he goes for it again. So red guy now gets second wind. He then goes in for the kill. He backs up into the bushes here, and he's in trouble. 1 to the head, 2 to the head, 3 to the head, 4 to the head. Oh, he's down.
Wow,
that's remarkable.
The gift that keeps on giving. I love that.
That's not the best part. Like most people who get in fights, men specifically who get in fights, usually there's like a moment of like, oh my God, I can't believe I just got in a fight. Watch these two make up. It's incredible.
Hi there. My neighbor just came in and attacked my husband. Now they're fighting and we need help. Please, they're
neighbor. Still going.
He just came and started talking. Please come. Please come now. Please come. 12.
That guy's in trouble.
Yes, 12 Berman's Way, please. Yeah,
he's laying on the ground. Guy in the red shirt that started the whole thing. He's laying on the ground. The dog's having a peek.
Please come.
Wow. The lady's screaming at 911 to please come.
They look past their prime too, right?
The lady sounds like the girl that Bruce Willis dated in Pulp Fiction.
This is the crazy part of the video. So the fight's over. One guy walks. He then comes back and he starts feeling bad about everything. Listen.
Berman's Way.
Well, he knows because his wife is calling the cops. Whose wife is calling the cops? Red shirt or
the guy who won the fight? Black shirt. Black shirt.
Now he realizes, okay, I got my wife calling the cops, but I just tuned this guy. It's not going to look good on me.
Thank you.
When the body comes through,
with a little self-serving, right?
Bring an ambulance as well because the neighbor is out of his head. He fell down. And now
he fell
he's
down
just-
because he got punched in the head 17 times.
I think
wife.
he's trying
Come
drunk, but now he's very lost. I don't know, because he came to us.
Did you? I watched both of those videos, and all I could think was, that's Canada right there. That's every hockey fight I've ever been in, where you sit and you dummy the guy over and over and over again, and at the end of it, you're like, "Let me help you up. Sorry, you're bleeding. Sorry, you're bleeding rectally too." That is awesome.
We were on the show one day, and there was a hockey fight, and it was somewhere in Saskatchewan or something, and it was fairly new, and it was going viral. And it was one of these videos where there was like two guys fighting in the stands, and then four guys, then six, then the moms were punching each other, then the kids were punching the shit out of each other, then it spilled out into the parking lot, then the cops showed up, and we were watching this, and then Grant just started pulling up the whole show, just started pulling up hockey parent fights. We spent all morning, like there's hundreds of them.
Oh, dude, they're the best.
I know. I remember that was my childhood. It was like I played hockey. I played minor hockey in the late 70s, early 80s. And that's when you'd look up into the stands and you'd see two mums doing this, right? Like, I swear to God.
And the difference between the women fighting in the stands. But the difference between women fighting in the stands and dudes fighting in the stands, like those guys beat the shit out of each other. Like literally watched while one guy beat the shit out of the other guy. And afterwards they're like, "Hey, sorry, dude. Can I help you?" Women wouldn't do that. Like at the end of every men's league hockey fight, Rod Black and I got in. You know, Rod Black does the CFL. He's a sportscaster. Great guy.
Great porn name.
What Rod Black?
Great porn mustache.
Incredible. So he and I at men's league about 10 years ago, men's hockey league, we get into it. We're punching each other in the face.
What?
And I'm like, "Fuck you, Rod Black." He's like, "Fuck you, Dean Blundell." And we're like, "Oh yeah, we're drilling each other. We're getting into it." He's got a full cage on. I got a full cage on. And I'm like, "I'm going to fucking kill you when this is over." He's like, "I'm coming for you too." We get off the ice. I'm like, "That was awesome, huh?" He's like, "Diener, that was the best. Thanks a lot."
Why have you not told
And then
that
we went out and
story?
got drunk. Dude, I because it was embarrassing because I lost my mind. He hacked me, told me I sucked. I said, "I know I suck. I'm just out here for the exercise." He's like, "Go fuck yourself." I'm like, "You go fuck yourself." He then cross-checks me. Then I hammer Rod Black in the leg. Then he grabs my shirt. Then I grab his shirt. We still got gloves and masks on because we both work in media. We're like, we got to go to work the next day, right? And he's like, I'm like, "Yeah." I go, "You want to go?" He's like, yeah. "Just don't hit me in the face." I go, "No problem." So we just sat there punching each other in the shoulder for probably 30 seconds. Bang, 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 bang. But then afterwards, we were best friends.
Yeah, but when women fight, it's really loud. It's like
it's violent.
It's so loud, like it's like they're getting whacked, like in casino.
There's always
by a
a
guy
hair
who's
grab,
trying to
too.
get information from one of them, and then they're never friends for the rest of their lives.
Yeah,
right?
never. No, they hate each other forever. Guys, just this instant respect after, like, "You punched me hard in the face, dude. Thank you. I appreciate that."
The grudge holding,
you can really take the punch.
The grudge holding section of a female brain is like 58% of its brain. Like, you know. Sorry.
That was the most offensive thing
I know.
you've ever said in
you know what? And they'll never let me hear the end of it, right? So,
all
right.
I have a very, very vivid memory from my childhood, and all my childhood memories are horrific.
Same here.
They are. So my mom and dad split up I think my dad left when it was 77. So I was 7 years old. And so any memories I have about my dad, I was and then I didn't see him much after that. So it was like once a year, like we would get flown to wherever he was working, at Christmas. So that was my childhood, right? So I don't have a lot of memories of my dad. This is my dad's not a violent guy at all. So we were sitting at the dinner table one night after hockey. It was like a Saturday night or whatever, and my dad has a black eye, and my mom brings it up, and he informed us that he had had a fist fight in the parking lot with the coach from the competing team. 6.
Yeah.
6-year-old Loch.
That's terrific. I mean, your dad walking out on you and like having to fly to see him once a year is horrible. But when you see him and he shows up and he's got a black eye because he beat the shit out of the other team's hockey coach, that's horrific.
6-year-olds.
Attaboy.
That's a hockey memory for me. My dad, the coach, getting in a fight with the opposing coach in the parking lot, and I don't remember.
Friends after.
No, I doubt it.
And then Dad went out for cigarettes and never came back again.
You don't know the wiring. You don't know the wiring of my family.
I have a little bit of a good idea.
Yeah, we're getting there. Thanks, guys. That is James D. Fiore. Blackballed the podcast is where you can go and download it. Subscribe today at James D. Fiore on Twitter, or Blackballed is the name of his website as well. Go check out his stuff. He's brilliant. His stuff with Chomsky was terrific. It's still one of the great interviews that we have here at DeanBlundell.com. That is Lachlan Cross, 95.7 Cruise FM. What's that?
That's worth watching. The Chomsky
it's excellent. That is Lachlan Cross, 95.7 Cruise FM in Edmonton. He's the morning show host of The Locker Room. If you're in Edmonton, you need to follow, need to listen to him and his group. They're fucking great. The only morning show left in Canada with a little person.
You can stream us in other cities as well.
I'm listening now.
If you streamed his morning show in Toronto,
the sounds of the Den of Sadness is. I'm so looking forward to writing that out. Really,
can I give you guys? I know you guys need to go here, but I got to give you some context on that. Okay, so every radio station in this fucking market runs Sound of the Day, right? And it'll be like a mystery sound, and they play it all day long, and you have one chance every hour, and then every hour they bump up the jackpot, right? It's the worst fucking contest, and it'll be like a guy farting, but it's always something like a guy farting in a can on a dinghy in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
I like that one.
So, and it's always like it's like a second little like that, right? And then you got to guess that it's a guy farting in a can on a dinghy wearing a yellow hat in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, right? And until you guess exactly that, you don't win the fucking money, right? So, and we're doing one on the other sister station, and I heard them talking about it, and they're trying to pick fucking sounds or stuff, and I'm like, Jimmy, we got to do our own version of this contest. And he's like, what are you up to? And I said,
just to mock all radio contests. I love it.
Yeah. So I'm like, we're going to do the Den of Sadness Sound of the Day. And we're going to give away shit from your apartment you don't want anymore.
Oh, that's awesome. Are you going to like drop your balls on something? And just like,
well, we've got him. I can't give you any of the sounds because we haven't done it yet.
We
got a bunch of sounds.
I have a bunch of ideas.
Yeah, we got a bunch of sounds. We got like 10 or 12 already. He rolled tape all last weekend. And then I showed up at his place and we just pulled, like, James is a hoarder. So we pulled, I have enough prizing from his apartment to fucking do this until like January.
That's not an aside. If someone's a hoarder, that's a podcast.
So now the locker room, no money thrown at our show at all, like nothing, right? And we have to come up with our own contesting, and that's what we came up with for fall.
That's mocking all radio contests with a radio contest. I love it.
Very well done.
I love it. They're doing the radio contest here in Toronto. I'm listening to a radio show today, like, because I had to go to a meeting and come back. Radio's like, we're giving you $500 every hour. And I'm like, wow, that's creative. All you have to do is call. Be caller number 97. And I'm like, oh.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do caller 95, though.
Yeah.
If you're caller 97, we'll give you $500 just for listening to us, because everything else we do sucks so hard that we have to bribe you to listen to us for 2 months of the year.
That should be the creative for it.
Yeah.
We couldn't think of any other reason for you to listen.
Yeah.
Every year we have to stop what we're doing for 2 straight months and bribe you with cold, hard cash to listen to this shit that we put on the radio.
Whether driving in your
Sick
Subaru.
of the morning? Are you sick of the morning traffic girl talking about her fucking dog? So are we. Here's cash.
Hey, Toronto, are you tired of morning shows from other cities, countries, and provinces being played in your market?
I got to be
Because
very
we
careful
have no
here. 'Cause
money.
I break a lot of these rules.
Hey, viewers, did you just find out that morning shows even existed? Us too.
It kills me every time.
Mike, the DJ, giving you cooking tips every morning at 7:15.
Now gas up that transistor radio, everybody.
And keep your phone handy.
We've got something that'll keep you
Keep
listening.
us on speed dial.
We'll pay your phone
It
bill.
wasn't even. Someone just reminded me. It wasn't. Yeah, we'll pay your phone bill. That's the other one. Tell us what your phone bill is, and we'll pay it for you.
Wow,
Why?
it's $429. Holy shit! That's
What,
crazy.
do I have to listen to this shit? And can you still pay my phone bill? No, that's the idea.
You can have Alcan.
We know we're shit.
You can have Alcan Tinfoil become one of your sponsors and do like a contest of most creative way to hijack your signal from the trailer park. You know?
Yeah, dude. Yeah. That's great.
It's
Congratulations. Your contest is the best contest I've ever heard of.
You know
Ever
what, Dean? That
in my whole life.
means a lot. That means a lot. I'll try not to come out of it every day with another fucking Bryan Adams tune you didn't know was ever recorded.
Coming up in a minute, your chance to win $100 and Gowan.
Our boss put some new music in a couple months back, and he threw in. He dug deep on the CanCon, and there was one day I'm sitting there, I'm editing a call or something, getting ready to go on, and I look over, like, because we kind of got the music in the background, and I look over and I'm like, what the fuck is this? And I look over at Grant, and Grant's staring at this screen too. We both sort of like it was a brand new song, but it was Triumph, and it was recorded back in 1983. And I'm like, have you ever fucking heard this song? Grant's like, I don't know what this is. And I'm like, I was in radio when they invented
That's why they give out
fire.
$100.
And I've never fucking played this Triumph song. What the fuck is this?
That's why they have promos, and that's why they give out $100 every hour on the hour. So you'll sit through shitty music.
Did you know that Bryan Adams has a song called Heat of the Night? I didn't either. No. It's also 5 minutes and 12 seconds long. Ask me why I know that.
Yeah, because you had to play it, and it's
because I play it every week. Twice.
5 minutes and 12 seconds too long. I remember once we played a U2 song, and at the end of it, I'm like, "Here's U2, beautiful day, 4 minutes and 8 seconds. You'll never get back."
Universal's online too.
I got so mad one morning. I was having a bad day, and I came off the shit end of fucking patio lanterns from Kim Mitchell. And I basically just said,
"That's the worst shit I've ever heard."
I basically just turned on the audience and I went, "We just did a fucking music test, people. We just asked you to tell us what you think of all of our music. Why am I still playing this song? This is your fault." And the boss didn't
like
appreciate
everything
that.
your program director tells you not to do.
Don't Lachlan,
chastise the listener.
Yeah, you stop shitting on the music, okay? Please. Why do we have to keep having that conversation?
That's why we're here, you know.
Now you're blaming the audience for the music we're playing?
Right.
Yes, it is their fault because you did a music test and said, "What songs do you want to hear?" And some fucking trailer park dickhead was like, "We need more Kim Mitchell." And so you put it in the run. Not that we haven't heard Patio Lanterns like 8 billion fucking times.
Yeah.
We get it. Dude, it's his fault. That's his fault. You need to quit.
Yeah, that'll go over well.
Thanks for joining me, guys. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, guys.
All right. Take care,
that
boys.
is Lachlan Cross and James DiFiore. here at deanblundell.com. That's it for us. Oh, Loch's there. You're back. You want to finish this bad boy off with me, Loch? Can't hear you. Oh, no, he's gone now. He was there. He's not there. Anyway, that's it for us. Have a great day to everybody except for Maxime Bernier and the PPC. Thanks to our friends over at Ed's Fine Imports. His Gitch. I took him out because I wanted to show you Ed's unbelievable underwear. There's the pouch in the front. See that? It's where your nuts rest. Right in there. Right there. That's where you put your bag sack. Yeah, he sells those. He'll send them to you as well. Gitch3 is your promo code. 4 for the price of 3 when you use it. Go to edsfineimports.com today. Our friends over at Easy Auto Financial make it easier for you to get financing for a vehicle. Then they'll send you to get the car you want that you pick out at the dealership that you want to go to. It's called Turnkey. That's what you need to do is go to easyautofinancial.ca if you're in the market for a vehicle. They don't turn people down. They don't care about your credit rating. They only care about getting you in a vehicle. So go to easyautofinancial.ca today. Pardon me. easyautofinancial.ca. Go there today. And Domination. Our friends over at Domination help you do content and produce content and takes minutes instead of hours. dmntn.com. Check them out today. Go online. It's free to try. And our friends at Blue Microphones as well. Blue Microphones supplies us with everything we need, and they can supply everything you need to be able to game, stream, podcast, and more. They've got a Logitech group of companies, so they got a ton of cameras. They've got level 1 through 4. They've got everything. They've got these microphones. They've got a litany of them, bottle caps, spark mics. They've got everything, USB, XLR, and headphones, including these MoFi headphones. Make sure you give them a try if you're looking for a bunch of new equipment for your podcast / show, whatever it is you're doing. It's all good. Your content's just as good as everybody else. Might not be, actually. Might be shit. But it'll sound less shitty if you use good stuff. And you'll sound great if you have a good podcast and use our friends at Blue Microphones. Go to @BlueMic or Blue Microphones on Twitter today. Thanks, everybody. See you later. Bye.